Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Briareos Kerensky and this is the review of Yoru No Nai Kuni. Developed by Gust, best known for the Atelier, Arton Helico and Surge Concerto series, Yoru No Nai Kuni is an action game that clearly shows how inexperienced the company is at this genre. Yoru No Nai Kuni is rough around a lot of edges, often showing very little care about details, further cheapening the game. Long time ago, in game terms, humans succeeded in defeating the Lord of the Night, but his blood fell upon the earth, cursing humans into monsters that steal nighttime, and humans no longer sleep. Few humans were tainted by the Lord's blood but didn't turn into monsters, but rather gained the power to fight them. Arnas is one of these fellows, an agent for the church tasked, in this case, to protect Ruritis. Ruritis' role is much darker, as she's the next in line to be sacrificed to keep the monsters at bay. Rather than the struggle against the Night, the story focuses on the relationship between Arnas and Ruritis. They are close friends from the beginning, and as the game goes on the two will fight, become friends again, and foster a relationship, helped by a small cast of secondary characters.
どうぞごゆっくり。
Taken alone, some scenes between the two heroines are well written and fully convey how their relationship is going, but overall they feel disconnected from the game itself. Secondary characters aren't well integrated into the storyline as well, ending up in being just shopkeepers or parsing quests. This might be due to the language barrier. I have played the Japanese version, but I felt very little connection between my actions, the very few choices the game asks, and the overall story, ending included. The story wants to evoke strong feelings, and it tries really hard, but I never felt attached to Arnas or Ruritis, and chances are the game itself is at fault for this. Yoru No Nai Kuni is criminally easy, the only roadblock in the main story being the final boss. It's also criminally simple in its structure, despite featuring a good number of interesting mechanics. Arnas is a competent fighter, able to wield multiple weapons as she grows in strength. Each weapon has 2 normal attacks and 1 special attack that consume SPs. Weapons are the starting longsword, twin daggers, gun and hammer. Of the 3 short-range weapons, only the hammer requires a bit of finesse to keep the combos going. The swords are happy to rack up hits by just mashing square, the standard attack button. The gun requires Arnas to stand still while firing, and at first it might sound useless in a game focused on hand-to-hand combat. The gun allows, in truth, for easy wins against every opposition, although the price to pay is to make the game easier and more repetitive than it already is. In addition to her own skills, Arnas can summon servants. Servants are creatures that will help Arnas by attacking enemies, either at close range or with spells, or by healing the whole party. Servants are arranged in groups of 4, and groups can be swapped when playing. New servants can be obtained by purchasing specific items and then actualize them into existence. All servants start at level 1 and can grow up to level 10. Even if they didn't participate in any battle, servants assigned to a group will receive experience, easing the process of bringing new recruits up to speed. Servants can be directed with 4 simple commands, and can also be ordered to activate a special attack if required. How servants are arranged in a group also dictates the alternate form Arnas can transform into. There are 4 forms.
Demon form. Kechira.
The fire-based demon,
Armor form. Zenmetsu suru.
the slow but powerful armor,
Phantom form. Zeta form.
Phantasm with long-range attacks,
Moon rabbit. Ikkuzo. Ha. Hitto. Hit. Hit.
and the blindingly fast Moon Rabbit. There is also a secret 5th form, linked to one of the possible outcomes of the story. Transforming changes Arnas' normal and special attacks, and can be achieved by filling a dedicated gauge. Transformations don't last much, and are a way to wither down long health bars. The 4 forms offer far more variety than the standard weapons, forcing very distinct styles on the player, and it's a shame they impact the combat so little. Combat is also severely hampered by the lack of variety in enemy design, that essentially are divided between fairies, able to use long-range spells, and everyone else, with only close-range attacks. Enemies might have more or less health, or do more or less damage, but other than that, there is no difference in how you approach them. Sadly, this translates to bosses as well. There aren't many to start with, and among all I can point to just one being interesting to fight because it can lock servants for a short period of time. The game is set on Roosevelt Island, with locations unlocking as the story progresses. A hotel serves as a central hub, and you'll have to return there to level up Arnas and her servants. Arnas level up by collecting blood from defeated monsters, and it's not something that will happen often. Most chapters will see just one level up after defeating the local boss. Grinding is possible, but it's excruciatingly boring to do, as locations and monsters never change or scale with Arnas' current level. Arnas will be able to learn new skills in between level ups, but aside from unlocking more equipment slots or new weapons, skills don't leave an impact on how you play. The hotel also holds an underground arena where Arnas can undertake tasks to earn more blood, money or items. Arena battles are in fact the most entertaining part of the game, with objectives varying from just using servants to defeat an enemy without getting hit, or make your way through spike labyrinths to defeat all monsters. It's a shame that the rest of the game doesn't live up to these battles, as they show that developers know how to make things interesting. Yoru No Nai Kuni works as an action game, but this doesn't mean it's an interesting one to play. From start to finish, the combat fails to draw in players, despite Gust's best efforts to implement a large number of interesting mechanics. The system also doesn't feel alright, with Arnas and enemies' blows lacking proper weight or even stuns. It's easy to see Arnas, even bosses, health depleted in seconds because there is very little feedback from visual, oral and mechanical sides. Enemy groups come and go without any trouble, and when monsters with a lot of HP appear, they cause scorn from the player because they take a long time to be defeated, rather than offering a solid challenge to overcome. Graphics are nice on the surface, but lack consistency. A lot of effort has gone into creating a complex art style for the game, but the technical side doesn't live up to it. Models, how good they might be, are rigid where they shouldn't be, like hairs or skirts. It's distracting to see Arna's long silver hairs accompanying every motion of her head, or Ruriti's skirt perfectly upright when lying down. Parts of costumes also compenetrate each other, like the many oversized sleeves. Normal animations are kinda stiff, with faces defaulting to a smile even when the expression doesn't fully suit the situation. Voices are lip-synced, but lip movements don't feel natural. It is a step up from many Atelier games, but the overall situation has improved very little, if at all, from Arno Surge. Important cutscenes have been motion captured and stride with the rest of the game, making you wish that every other animation was. On the plus side, movement and attacks feel right within the game, and are never floaty as in many Atelier. Environments, on the other hand, are downright barren and with a huge scale problem, often being twice as big than they should be. They also show a lot of texturing errors, and those trump any kind of shallow art direction, especially if such errors occur on the footsteps to the final boss. Yoru No Nai Kuni is fully voiced, and to a good effect. The story never gets into pure melodrama, and the voice acting remains tasteful throughout the game. The soundtrack is clearly from Gust, but here goes for a darker and faster tone, with a lot of electric guitars and choirs. These underscore perfectly combat and environments, though choirs don't quite reach Artonelico or Arno Surge in overall quality. On the PS4 the game runs at 60 frames per second, dipping below 30 in very large areas or when a lot of particle effects are involved. Thankfully these occurrences are very rare, and the game never falters when combat is involved. There are multiple endings in Yoru No Nai Kuni, as well as the possibility to keep playing from a completed save game for optional bosses or to unlock the true ending. I don't really feel that the overall quality of the game warrants multiple playthroughs, but it's nice to see developers offering incentives to stay. Completing the game once opens up a rather rich extra gallery, with 3D models, sketches, and messages from the voice actors. Yoru No Nai Kuni features interesting mechanics that unfortunately contribute very little to what is, in the end, a shallow action game. The story might be interesting, but it does feel a bit underdeveloped, though this might be due to the language barrier offered by the Japanese edition. I hope you have enjoyed this review and you'll stick around for more. Briareos Kerensky, over and out.